What do you do when the person you love most in the world looks at you like a stranger? I stood frozen in the doorway of our apartment, the place where we'd built a life over 10 years, my keys still dangling uselessly in the lock. The air was thick with the scent of rain from my soaked jacket and something heavier doubt, maybe, or the weight of a truth I wasn't ready to face. My wife, Sarah, stood on the other side of the threshold, her arms crossed, her eyes like ice. "I don't have a husband," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the storm outside. "You can leave now." I didn't move. How could I? This was our home. The couch where we binge-watched old movies, the kitchen where she'd burned her first attempt at lasagna, the bedroom where we'd whispered dreams of a future that felt certain until now. My name is David, and I'm not the kind of man who gives up easily, but in that moment, I didn't know who I was anymore. I searched her face for a trace of the woman who'd laughed with me, cried with me, promised me forever. But all I saw was a wall, and I didn't know how to climb it. "Sarah," I said, my voice cracking, "what's going on? Talk to me." She didn't flinch. Her gaze held steady, cold as the rain pooling at my feet. "You heard me," she said. "Go." I wanted to argue, to demand answers, but the finality in her tone stopped me. I stepped back, the door slamming shut before I could say another word. The sound echoed in my chest, louder than the thunder outside. I stood there, drenched and dazed, replaying the last few weeks in my mind. Had there been signs? Had I missed something? We'd been fine, hadn't we? Sure, I'd been working late, chasing deadlines at the law firm, but Sarah had always understood. Or so I thought. The rain kept falling as I wandered to a nearby diner, the kind of place that smelled like coffee and regret. I slid into a booth, ordered a black coffee, and stared at the crumpled letter in my pocket. I'd found it that morning, tucked inside a book on her nightstand. It wasn't addressed to anyone, but the words were in her handwriting. "I can't keep pretending. It's not fair to either of us." That was all it said, but it was enough to send me rushing home from work early, heart pounding with questions. Now, sitting in the diner's dim glow, I wondered if I'd ever get answers. That's when the twist came, uninvited and sharp. A woman slid into the booth across from me. She was older, maybe 60, with silver hair pulled into a tight bun and eyes that seemed to see right through me. "You're David, aren't you?" she said, her voice low but firm. I blinked, caught off guard. "Do I know you?" She didn't smile. "I'm Ellen. Sarah's mother." My stomach dropped. Sarah hadn't spoken to her mother in years. They'd had a falling out long before we met, something about control and expectations Sarah refused to unpack. I'd only seen photos of Ellen, stiff and formal, nothing like the woman before me now. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've been watching," she said, leaning forward. "Sarah's not herself. She hasn't been for a while." I frowned, my mind racing. "What do you mean?" "She just kicked me out of our home," she said. "I know what she said," Ellen interrupted, her tone sharp but not unkind. "But you need to understand something. Sarah's been getting letters. Anonymous ones. They started a month ago, and they've been tearing her apart." "Letters?" I echoed, my coffee forgotten. "What kind of letters?" Ellen reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope, sliding it across the table. It was plain, no address, just Sarah's name scrawled in black ink. "I found this in her trash," she said. I've been checking on her from a distance. She doesn't know I'm here. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. The note inside was short, typed, no signature. He's lying to you. He's not who you think he is. My blood ran cold. Who sent this? I demanded, my voice louder than I intended. I don't know, Ellen said. But they've been coming every few days. They're why she's pushing you away. She thinks you're hiding something. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Hiding something? I've never lied to her. Not once. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I been too caught up in work? Had I missed something deeper, something Sarah couldn't say out loud? Ellen's eyes softened, just a fraction. David, Sarah's always been stubborn. She builds walls when she's scared. But she loves you. I know she does. Whatever this is, you need to fight for her. Not by banging on her door, but by finding out who's doing this. I spent the next week digging. I stayed in a cheap motel, poring over the letter Ellen gave me, searching for clues. I called in favors at the firm, asked a colleague to trace the paper, the ink, anything. It led nowhere. The letters were generic, untraceable. But I couldn't stop. I started watching our apartment from across the street, not to stalk Sarah but to see if anyone suspicious came by. That's when I saw him, a man in a gray hoodie, slipping an envelope under our door in the dead of night. I followed him. He was fast, but I was desperate. Down alleys, through the rain-slicked streets, until he ducked into an abandoned warehouse. My heart pounded as I crept inside, the air thick with dust and decay. There, in the dim light, I saw him, a scrawny guy, maybe 30, hunched over a table littered with envelopes and a typewriter. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice echoing. He froze, then bolted. I chased him, tackling him to the ground. "Why are you doing this to us?" I demanded, pinning him down. He laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You don't even know, do you? She was mine first." His name was Mark. He'd dated Sarah years before we met, a relationship she'd never mentioned. He'd been obsessed, unable to let go, and when he saw us together, happy, he snapped. The letters were his way of breaking us apart, planting seeds of doubt. I turned him over to the police, but the victory felt hollow. Sarah still didn't know the truth. I went back to our apartment, armed with proof, Mark's confession, the typewriter, everything. I knocked, expecting another slammed door. Instead, Sarah opened it, her eyes red from crying. "Ellen called me," she said, her voice soft. "She told me everything." I held out the evidence, my hands shaking. "Sarah, I'd never hurt you. You have to believe me." She stepped aside, letting me in. We talked for hours, unraveling the lies, the fear, the distance that had grown between us. It wasn't easy. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But we started, piece by piece, word by word. In the end, it wasn't just about catching Mark or proving my innocence. It was about seeing Sarah, really seeing her, the fear she hid, the love she still carried. We're not perfect, and our story isn't over. But as I sit here, watching her sleep beside me, I know one thing: love is worth fighting for, even when the door feels locked forever.